Welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm going to answer all of the frequently asked questions that I've gotten over the last 15 years of being an appraiser and a realtor about buying a new build home in Tucson, Arizona. So hang tight because we've got an extensive list that I'm going to cover. You're not going to want to miss that. And as a bonus, if you watch this entire video, I'm also going to share a secret with you that the builders do not want you to know, and it's going to save you thousands of dollars on the new build that you end up buying. So let's jump in. Hey, I'm Rich, and if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to know about lifestyle, real estate, and new builds in Tucson, Arizona, then you've come to the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the very first to learn everything that you want to know. All right, now before we kick this off, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're going to jump into. I've got 10 different categories of questions. So 10 different categories, and then there's a couple questions in each. I've spent quite a bit of time looking at all of the questions that I've been asked online, in person, in consultations, helping people buy and sell real estate for over 15 years. Many of those homes have been new build homes. I've worked with all of the builders here in Tucson, from the big production builders like KB, Lennar, Meritage, Richmond American, just to name a few, to fully custom builds where you hire your own engineer, architect, and buy your own piece of land and go that route. So either way, I've got the experience to help those clients out. And if you fit that category, then make sure you grab my contact information below. You can call, text, email. Actually, the best way to get a hold of me is just jump on the link to grab my calendar, schedule a 30-minute Zoom call so we can get face-to-face and get introduced. So you'll be able to look at the chapters of each of this video, the chapters in this video, broken into 10 different categories of questions. And I'm going to go through and answer each one so that you'll have the answers. All right, so the first topic is cost and pricing. The first question within this topic that I get asked the most is, are new builds more expensive than resale homes in Tucson? And really, in general, I'm going to answer it like this. In general, people pay a premium for homes that are turnkey. And in any market, Tucson, Dallas, Los Angeles, like take your pick, any city, the buyer is always willing to pay a premium for turnkey properties, and new construction is the best example of a turnkey property because it's brand new. Every building component is brand new, from the foundation to the plumbing to the electrical to the studs to the roof, everything. So that is representation of the highest premium that will be paid in any given market. So to answer the question, are new builds more expensive than resale homes? Yes. In general, a new build is going to have a higher cost up front. If you're comparing new builds and resales within the same mile radius, typically you're going to see a slight premium in price for the new build. That's because all the infrastructure in the community is new, all the components are new, you get warranties, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, you're watching this video because you're curious about new builds. And if you want more in depth about this, you can click the link in the description where I have a specific video where I break down resale versus new build from all different types of categories. So definitely watch that video if you're curious of diving a little bit deeper and comparing the two. Next up, what is included in the base price of a new build? Great question. Oftentimes what you're going to see is new builds sites are advertising home starting at. Home starting at is another way for them to describe their base price. And the base price literally just includes the floor plan. Most builders, the way they comprise their pricing is it's base price plus lot premium plus upgrades. Those three things make up the final out the door price that ultimately you end up paying. Next, kind of rolling into the same question, are there any additional costs for upgrades and lot premiums? Yes, there typically are. Now we'll start with lot premiums. Typically lot premiums, there is going to be a slight cost. Like in Tucson, for instance, we have lot premiums that range between $3,000 and $10,000 typically. I've seen lot premiums for as much as $85,000. They can definitely be a lot more, but generally speaking, I see them between $5,000 and $10,000. Now for upgrades can vary widely depending on the builder's system. Some builders you're going to pick a package, one of 7 packages to select from that will include the interior color of flooring, cabinetry color, countertops, all that sort of stuff. And then they have other builders where it's completely bespoke. It's you go to a design center, you have 300 different types of flooring, you've got 50 types of faucets, you've got every finish on the interior of the house that you can select from, and your budget for each can be very different. So those are considered upgrades. Those are finish upgrades like fans, fixtures, countertops, whether you want 42-inch upper cabinets or just the standard height, whether you want granite, quartz, marble, all those are examples of upgrades. Those are finishes. Now, in addition to that, you can also get upgrades in terms of structural upgrades where you do an additional garage, so a 3-car garage versus 2-car, or you do an extended patio or an enlarged master bedroom or an additional sink in your guest bathroom or something like that. Usually that's considered structural. Next question, how do I negotiate the best price for a new build? Now, this is a great question, and there's a couple important components to this. The first is you got to understand the timing of the market, because every negotiation strategy is a little bit different depending on where we're at with supply and demand. A perfect example would be like if demand is super high and there's a line out the door, the negotiation strategy is going to be different than if there is a ton of inventory at this builder and there's not very many people looking to buy homes, right? Inventory is higher than demand. So a custom tailored strategy, knowing the timing of the market and what type of market we're in. Secondly, there are some builder specifics just in terms of the way that they run their business. Some builders really don't run their business based on having spec homes or homes that are completed sitting there waiting for a buyer. Some builders, and it takes an expert like myself to know which builders in our community prefer not to have those. And the builders that prefer not to have those, when they do have them, those are the ones that we can usually negotiate the best deals on. Other builders prefer to have more standing inventory, so they may not be as willing to negotiate on that. Another item that I think makes a huge difference is reputation to the builder. Since I've been working within the building community for over 15 years, I've worked with all the builders. I have great relationships at all of the builders. Many of the site agents I've worked with before. So negotiation with me, they understand that, hey, he brings us business. We've worked with them before. He's a good agent. He's got a great reputation. So in that, they're more amenable to finding a happy medium for you as my client. All right, and the last one for this category is, are there incentives and discounts offered by builders? Yes, that is one of the biggest reasons that builders are able to draw traffic to their locations. We talked about in the first question, are new homes, new builds typically higher in price than resales? Yes. So how are they still convincing people to buy their homes? Well, a lot of times they're offering incentives. It could be a lender incentive, locking in a lower interest rate, cash bonus that goes towards your structural options or design center to help you make that master bedroom a little bit bigger. Maybe upgrade the flooring if there's a design center that you wanted to. It could be in the form of a seller concession, so some sort of concession paid by the builder to you as the buyer at closing to help offset some costs like your loan costs, appraisal costs, title and escrow fees, that sort of thing. All right, so next is going to be timeline and construction process. Got a couple questions I'm going to run through here. The first one is, how long does it take to build a home from start to finish? Now, I'm going to split this into 2 different processes because, again, I talked about from the beginning, we're talking about more of a production style builder. So that would be like a KB Home, Lennar, Meritage Home, Richmond American. Now, typically, those builders are going to take somewhere between 5 and 7 months to complete a home from start to finish. That will fluctuate slightly. Like during COVID, when we had severe supply and material issues and shortages, and we started to have labor issues as well because people were sick or jobs, people were just not working as much. Those timelines for the same builders, the same houses went all the way to 13 to 15 months in some cases. So it can vary widely, but in the 15 years that I've been doing this, in general, the homes, the production style homes that these builders are building typically will take between 5 and 7 months. Next up, can I customize the floor plan or make changes during construction? Great question. Typically, there is a cutoff point at which you can no longer make any changes at all. Now, the exception to that is once they've typically, and I've had clients ask this question, or I've been able to approach this with builders before. Once they get to a certain point in the construction process where their permit's been issued, it's been finalized, all that sort of stuff, or the permit has been issued, there's pretty much no changes that builder is going to be willing to make to that floor plan. Set in stone, they've jumped through the hoops to get it approved, it's been approved, and that's what's going to go in it. Now, some minor cosmetic changes might be able to be changed, like maybe the paint color. They might be willing to swap out some cabinets. The thing that I have learned about changing out some of the finishes is if the builder's already ordered those particular cabinets or countertops or floors for that house, generally speaking, they're probably not going to let you change it. So there's a lot of caveats there. Every builder is a little bit different. Generally, the answer is once construction is started, it's set in stone. Whatever they plan on building is what's going to be built. Next, what happens if there are delays in construction? Now, I was on the front lines of this during the COVID era in 2020, 2021, when we experienced significant delays. And at that point in my business, about 50% of my business, which was a lot, 40 or 50 people were buying new construction homes, and they were all delayed significantly. Originally, they were quoted 5 to 7 months. And, a lot of those homes ended up being 13 to 15 months. That was an anomaly. That time has passed. So don't worry. It's not taking that long anymore. But what happens if construction is delayed? Now, typically in these builder contracts that you're going to sign, it's helpful to have someone like myself who's an expert at working with these builders and really understands the contracts that you're going to be entering into with them. Because in these contracts, there is going to be some statements regarding delays in construction. And what I have seen is most of these builder contracts are going to contain a clause that gives them 12 to 24 months of additional time to complete your home without breaching the contract. So that is a defaulted statement that I see in a lot of these new build contracts. It's very rare. It literally has only happened during COVID that there was extenuating circumstances, and the builders were doing everything they could to move the inventory and continue to make progress in the building phases. But timelines did get delayed. So it's rare, but in the case that it does happen, most builder contracts are going to have written in there that they're allowed an extra amount of time to complete the build before there's any type of issue of breaching the contract. Next up, can I visit the construction site during the build process? Absolutely. And I highly, highly suggest that if you're going to build new, you plan on visiting the new construction site, because if there's been human hands touching it, there's always going to be something that is a mistake. The goal is to make it a very minimal mistake and catch it before it becomes harder to undo. So the more time you can spend checking up on your new build, I would say once a week, probably no more than about once every 2 weeks would be ideal. Just to walk through it, even from the exterior only, take a look, feel comfortable with the progress. But usually what they'll require is that you have a hard hat during certain phases. Once they're done with the roofing or anything that might be overhead, the hard hat rule tends to go away. But usually they're going to have some protocol where you have to check into the office first, grab a hard hat. They'll give you the keys or any type of information that you might need to be aware of to go view the process of construction. And yeah, absolutely, you can go visit your home during the build process. All right, so the next topic is builder selection. I've got a couple questions that I'm going to ask, or that I'm going to answer here. And so the first one is, how do I choose the right builder in Tucson? That is a fantastic question, and one that I get very, very commonly from people who have never bought a new build before. So if you're considering a new build and you're kind of thinking, man, this is a huge decision. It's a house that I'm going to spend a lot of money on. I'm going to spend a lot of time, many, many years in, and I want to make sure that it's the right one. Couple things that I want to mention. There are good reviews and bad reviews on every builder. Surprise, surprise. If you're going to go based on reviews, it can be very subjective. And I think what I have experienced in new construction is interesting because there's good and bad reviews on pretty much everything. Builders are the same. So I would suggest that if you really want to know what the nuances are with each builder, contact somebody who has a really, really good level of experience with each of the builders. Again, my contact information is in the description. The easiest way to get a hold of me is text message, or you've got my direct line. You can text message there, or just grab the link, jump on my calendar for a 30-minute Zoom call. I'm happy to kind of help find out what you're considering, give you some local expertise and insight on each of the builders that you're considering, the pros, the cons, what I've seen go right, what I've seen go wrong. And really, you can use that insight to make your decision. And I'm sure that once you have that information, it'll be a lot easier for you to kind of pick a direction to go. So choosing the right builder, you can certainly do your research. Reviews, you're going to find a mixed review, good and bad. You can look at their warranty programs. You can look at the way they handle their customer service. Generally speaking, all of the builders that I've worked with have been good. They've all been good. Some of them have been exceptional and repeat and continue to be exceptional. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about what those builders are, let's connect privately. I'm happy to share that information with you. So next, under builder selection, what question should I ask the builder before signing a contract? I think this question is better for each individual to answer, because as your agent, one of the things that I'm going to ask is, what are your biggest concerns around moving forward? And oftentimes people will kind of talk themselves out of any concerns at that time. Sometimes they just need to kind of voice and verbalize, where they're going, what concerns, and they'll kind of establish either things have already been answered and they're good to go, or there are some remaining things. And at that point, I would say those are the things that when you work with an agent like me, I'm going to be present with you during that. Myself and our team will be with you during that process of writing the contract with the builder. We can be part of that conversation where we're making sure we pause at the right time to just inquire, make sure you are comfortable and don't have any additional questions that we need to review before going into contract with the builder. So next question I get is, are Tucson builders reputable? Yes. I mean, resounding yes. A lot of the Tucson builders are not local to Tucson. There's actually very few builders that are local to Tucson. Most of the big builders that we work with and our clients buy homes from are big national or even international builders. So these are builders that have a very established track record. A simple Google search, you could find information from the Better Business Bureau. You can find information on Google reviews. You can find websites, home builder reviews all over the place. So if you want to do some in-depth research, plenty of room on the internet to explore that. And if you want some hyper local perspective from someone who has sold probably 1,000 new builds or at least been involved in 1,000 new build sales, you can grab my contact information and we can link up and chat over the phone or in a Zoom call. So I'm accessible to you there as well. All right, next up is warranties and maintenance. Now, I've got a couple more questions in here. The first one is, what kind of warranties come with a new build home? Generally speaking, most of the builders are going to have a 10-year structural warranty. In addition to that, most builders are going to include some sort of appliances. And with those appliances, you're going to get warranties from the manufacturers. Most manufacturers for the appliances are actually going to require that you register the appliance with them. So make sure that you do that. And those manufacturer warranties are typically 2 to 5 years. So you'll have a 2 to 5 year warranty on the appliances. You'll have a 10-year structural warranty. There are other warranties on some of the other components, like the roof. You may have like a 10, 15, 20-year warranty on the roof. water heater, that sort of stuff. AC, you may have some additional manufacturer warranties there. Kind of varies based on brand, manufacturer, all that sort of stuff. But that gives you an idea of what type of warranties come with it. So next question, what does the builder's warranty typically cover? Builder's warranty, typically 10-year structural warranty, and that would cover anything that has to do with the building structure itself. So could be the foundation, could be the structural walls on the exterior, interior, the framing, could be the trusses in the ceiling. Anything that would be considered structural to the house is generally what's covered under their builder warranty. There are some fine print to that. Every builder is a little bit different. If you have specific questions, it's best to have an idea of what builder you're talking about. And if you have a contract, if you know what builder you're referring to, then what we could do is dive into the specific contract where it talks about that. And I'm happy to help guide you through that process as well. Next, who is responsible for repairs during and after construction? So first piece of this is who's responsible for repairs during construction. Pretty easy to answer that. That is the builder. Everything up to the completion of the home is the responsibility of the builder. Once the home is completed, a certificate of occupancy is issued by the local municipality, city of Tucson, Marana, whatever that may be. Then we close shortly after that. And they are responsible for any repairs or anything that needs to be done to the house prior to that closing date. Now, after construction or after closing, they still have warranties in place. They have a structural warranty. Most builders will give you like a first 1 year where they'll cover most cosmetic and finish stuff. So say, if a tile pops out of your floor or baseboard starts to come undone from the wall, or, a door wasn't hung correctly and one of the hinges hanging off or something like that, they'll usually cover that first 12 months because sometimes some of these building components, they won't know, the builder won't know that there's something wrong with the way they installed it immediately. It takes some use before that is done. So most builders will also give you like a 1 year, 12-month time frame to live in the house, use the house, and if there's any issues that came up that were caused by improper installation or an issue with a component or a piece of material that they installed, they'll usually cover that and correct that at the 1 year mark as well. Now, outside of that 1 year, it's really, again, you've got the warranties from the manufacturer, you've got the 10-year structural warranty, you've got that first 12 months that most builders will offer. But outside of that, there are things that could happen to your home that it would be your responsibility. Now, most of the big components are going to be covered with a new build. That's why so many people prefer to go the new build route versus a resale. All right, so the next topic is financing and closing. The first question here that I get, do I need a special loan for a new build? Man, I get this one a lot. And I think there's a big misunderstanding around this. Just because it's a new build doesn't necessarily mean you're going through the same process that, say, a custom home would go through. Custom home process, production home process, two different processes, both new builds, but we're talking specifically the production style home builder, where they're building out large communities of homes. They have pre-selected floor plans, pre-selected lots, pre-selected prices. That's what we're talking about mostly. And for those, do you need a special loan? No, it's a very traditional conventional loan, USDA, VA, FHA. All your traditional consumer financing options are available. And so there is no special loan. It's no different than you buying a resale home. Next question, a really, really good one. Should I use the builder's preferred lender or shop around? I have been back and forth on this. There are unique situations where using what's called an outside lender would be recommended. But just to kind of get us all on the same page, most of these big builders are big national builders, and they're big multi-million-dollar companies. They also have subsidiary companies within them, like lending companies and insurance companies. So what they'll try to do is they'll try to give you better pricing on your home if you use their lender to finance the house. And they'll give you a better price on insurance, home insurance, if you use their in-house insurance company. You're never required to, but they're gonna try to earn your business through giving you additional discounts and earning more of your business that way. In general, I would say 90% of people, you end up using the builder's lender, what they call the in-house lender. And the reason why is because it's hard for an outside lender to compete with the incentives that are being offered by the builder's lender, because they've got more of your business, so they can afford to give you more of a discount generally. There are anomalies to that. There's situations where I've had to have an outside lender step in, a very reputable outside lender that works locally but not directly for the builder. And it was a situation where it needed to happen, and the buyer was very, very happy and felt fortunate that that was an option for them. So it's not always one way, but I would say far and wide, most people use the preferred lender. It's always important to shop around if you feel like you need to shop around. But having done this for 15 plus years and having been around the new construction business for as long as I have, generally speaking, the new build lenders are probably going to be able to beat most of the time the price that you're going to get outside. Test it, shop around if you'd like. I always recommend that if it's ever a question to a client, I help them shop around from an outside lender to shop against their in-house lender. We compare the two, and like I said, most times, 9 times out of 10, they end up going with the in-house lender. Next question, when do I close on my new build home? Is it before or after it's finished? Great question. And I think some of the confusion as to why this question exists is people confuse the custom home build process with the production home build process. Again, we're talking about the production home build process where they've got the lots, the floor plans, pricing, all of that's pre-selected. All you have to do is kind of pick and choose which options you want to pair together. In that instance, you're going to close after it's finished. So once they've gotten the certificate of occupancy, the home is 100% completed, it's ready to move in, that's when we close. Next, are there differences in closing costs for new builds? If you compare closing costs in new builds to closing costs for resale homes, generally speaking, no. Closing costs is going to be about the same. In fact, closing costs for new builds may even be slightly less in some cases, because again, I mentioned some of these builders are big national builders, and so they'll have a loan company as part of their company. They'll have an insurance company. Some of them even have a title company that's part of their company. And because all of that means that it's most likely discounted to you, your closing costs as part of your title and escrow fees, those could be at a discount too, because you're using their in-house title company. And so therefore your closing costs may actually be a little bit less on a new build than it would be for a resale home. Again, in general, they're probably about the same. You're probably paying approximately the same, plus or minus a couple $100. Now, for the sake of keeping these videos short enough to digest them, keep them entertaining, I am going to break this into 2 parts. So if you watch this far, I've got 5 more categories that I'm going to go over that you're definitely going to want to see. As a reminder, if you're looking for some expertise and some guidance in buying a new build, then definitely grab my contact information. Let's get connected. I get calls and texts every single day from people like you who are buying a new build, and I absolutely love it. So grab my contact information. Let's definitely stay in touch. And now you at least have most of your new construction, new build questions answered. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video, where I'm going to cover the next 5 categories that are really going to complete everything that you've been questioning. If you like this video, do me a favor, give it a big thumbs up. That helps me and the channel out. And until next time, I hope to see you around the neighborhood.